Start right here with second row right, Tim.
Losing the several
I won't look at him.
How many surprised you of the guys that left?
I don't know that a whole bunch surprised me. Been around here a while, and I mean, a lot of these guys, they're prepared and they're ready, you know, and so I think that, you know, in their minds that, you know, that's kind of where they wanted to go, and that's, you know, that was their goal and those kinds of things. So, you know, I don't want to be surprised by it. I mean, again, we all have our opinions, but the reality is that's what we prepare these guys for. You know, whether it's to go out in the real world and get a job at IBM, or their opportunity to go take their shot at the NFL. So I don't know that a whole lot surprises me anymore.
Yeah. Critical, though, as you look at it, who are a couple of guys that, well, obviously every spot's critical, but with three starters returning, what are you looking at as the most critical thing going into the offseason and maybe the spring?
Well, I think we saw the most critical thing probably in the first quarter of the game last couple weeks ago is when we lost 97. So, you know, that dominating force right there, whether it's an inside guy or an edge guy, you know, we got a lot of young guys, but I think that's probably one of those things right there that you look at and say, okay, that's something that you just can't replace, you know.
And the fact that what could be your starting defensive line got to play.
It did. So I mean, you look at that. That's right. I like that half full kind of guy. That very positive. That's what we got to see. You got to see a lot of what you might see here in the near future. Those guys got a lot of work, and you got to give Coach Johnson a lot of credit. You know, not that we had it prepared for Joey not to be able to play, but the reality is those guys getting an average of, you know, 10 to 15 snaps a game throughout the entire season. That voted well for us, obviously, in that situation. It'll vote well for us again next year.
Second row left, Lori.
It may sound like a silly question, but JT Barrett said the one thing that he wishes the team had done differently this year was enjoy themselves more. And Joey Bosa at various points of the season said it was harder having fun this year with the grind that it was. Just how important is it for a team's success for the players to be, I guess, for lack of a better expression, having fun?
Well, I mean, I think that's what you got to create as a coach, as an assistant coach in your position, as a coordinator, as the head coach. I mean, the reality is there's a lot of pressure on these guys. I mean, it's not just pressure on the head coach. It's not just pressure on one specific person. So I mean, the world has changed, you know. And when you go into a season as ranked as high as you are, as having the expectations as you have, you got to learn to manage that. You got to learn to handle that. So, you know, for those guys, I think that's a learning experience. I know for coaches, it's a learning experience, but it's not going to change. You know, so I think that's where, you know, as a coach, you get better each and every year is finding ways that you can create those things and take their mind off of things and still be a grind and still have the expectations and all those things that you have every day. But how do you change it up? How do you, you know, make that thing as exciting and fun? And I think a lot of that has to do with the power of the unit and the love and the care for those guys that are around you. And you know what will be interesting is as they look back here in the next, after they get done training, after they get their opportunity to go to the NFL, they'll look back and realize how much fun they really had. But in the moment, at the time, you're right, it is hard. You know, because of the expectation, because you didn't ultimately reach your final destination and the goal that you had, that's what's on your mind initially. But I promise you in another 6 months and another year, they'll look back and realize how much fun they really had.
That's got to be hard for a coach because, I mean, that can't be anywhere up near the priority of, say, teaching fundamentals, developing leadership. Making sure they're having fun can't be.
Why not?
Really?
No, I mean, I mean, again, I mean, we got to do the same thing every single day, and if you don't keep that in mind, if you don't find a way to have that connection with your guys and in your own room, in your own ways to find ways to do those things, it's a motivational thing as well. Motivating is a grind, but also making sure guys realize and, you know, you promote the positives, you enjoy the things that you know, that you've had the chance to succeed with and all those different things. You got to find a way. So each and every one of us as coaches got to find a way to get better at doing those things as well.
Front row middle, Bill.
If you had to do a depth chart right now, how difficult would it be?
Not very difficult. You know, we got a lot of guys, you know, and you got a lot of guys that you have a lot of confidence in. You know, again, each and every year brings about different things. And this is one of those years, if you guys want to look back and say in 2005, I think we lost a few really good players. I think there might have been 5 first-round draft picks that were in that draft, and 3 of those guys were on defense. And as enjoyable of a coaching year it might have been, as you just reflect and look back on some of those things, because you got a lot of guys that are, that are hungry and maybe have that little chip on their shoulder like these guys did 2 years ago. Not that this wasn't fun, it's not this wasn't exciting, but it's a different mentality to climb the mountain as opposed to stay on top of the mountain and hold the mountain and find ways to make yourself better when you're really at the top. So I don't find it to be real difficult, but it's even going to be more exciting.
If you had to, with your position group, obviously Raekwon's a starter. Who's next one?
Well, there's a lot of options, but right now, if you went out there today, it'd be Chris Worley at the Sam backer and Dante Booker at the will linebacker. And just like any great organization, just like any great team, really any great sports, if you're strong down the middle, you got a chance to be really successful. I don't care what sport you're in. And I know I can look across the ball and see Pat Elflein there at center and JT Barrett at quarterback and Raekwon McMillan standing in the middle of your defense, and you got an opportunity to be really, really good.
Far left, front row, Doug.
Urban said that JT's already a captain, Elflein's already a captain, and Raekwon's already a captain. What is it about Raekwon on and off the field that makes him ready for that kind of responsibility when you have so many guys that are leaving?
I tell you, he was ready when he walked in the door, and really, to be honest with you. And he learned from great people. He learned from Curtis Grant. Everybody has different definitions of leadership. I try to make one really simple, not that we change up from what the head coaches is, but those that can make others around him better. Really simple. And from the day he walked in, Raekwon was that kind of person. Selfless commitment to one another. He makes others around him better in everything he does. His attitude, his demeanor, his effort, his true selfless approach to everything that we do. So that's why I feel most confident. I feel most confident about the team. I look at JT, and I don't know him great, but I look at that in the same exact way. I look at Pat Elflein the same way. I don't know personally that the head coach would even have to announce those guys. As you walk in that locker room, I'm almost sure almost every single guy walking around that locker room knows about each and every one of those guys, and that's the beauty that we got.
You had 3 freshman linebackers that were highly rated coming in this year. We know Nick Connor had the injury, but can you maybe just update us where Jerome stands coming off the year playing special teams, Justin redshirted this year, and then Nick with the injury? What do you anticipate from the 3 of them?
Oh, really excited, to be honest. I mean, the tough thing is Jerome Justin had an injury too, so he'll be a little bit shy probably for spring ball. Nick will obviously be shy for spring ball. That's what makes it most difficult is to have those guys. Obviously, Nick got an opportunity to play spring ball last year and showed a lot of what he can do. Justin will probably miss a bit of spring ball this year, and Jerome's a young guy that is going to be probably get 1,000 reps, and he'll be a guy to me that bounces from position to position. He'll be a Sam, he'll be a Will, and trying to find a way to get our best 11. The best 3 guys out there, we'll be able to move guys around. And the thing we got too is we're going to have 2 fifth-year senior guys that, in Craig Fada and Joe Berger, that I wouldn't bat an eye at putting in there either. So provide a lot of depth for us, provide a lot of leadership, and that's going to be one of those big things.
Could Jerome play safety?
I'm sure he could. I mean, he's got enough speed, but the reality, it's like the same thing. So you look at Darren Lee, and did he have the ability to do that? Those are what you'd like to have, those linebackers that either could play safety or could play tailback. And we've got a few guys that you'd say, hey, you could hand them the ball and they could play tailback at the next level.
Second row middle, Ryan.
I was going to ask about Raekwon, but I guess just could you see that kind of in him when you were recruiting him, that he could be a future captain type? And, how much stock do you put into that, if at all? They're kind of young.
You like to think you can, but the reality is, you see some of those qualities, and you hear it from the high school coaches, and you hear it from the people around his community, but you don't really truly know deep down inside. And for a guy to walk in this environment and to be as highly recruited as he was, to step into the situation, to have a big brother like Curtis Grant, and truly act in the way he did and what he did, that started at birth, and I every time I see his mother, I say, thank you. You did an unbelievable job, whatever it was. You did an unbelievable job, and I could only hope that there's a lot more like that, and I hope my own kids, whatever they did, whatever she did, whatever God blessed him with, I think it was natural in him, but we got to still do a better job in enhancing and making sure that he can spread his wings even more.
that often the case with captains where it only takes them a year on campus to show you that they're that type of person?
I truly, we have this discussion, I've had this discussion with some of the, even my high school coach buddies that I know well, and some people would say, well, they're natural born leaders, and that guy's just born. And there are some that are, but there's also a lot that learn it too. I think you can teach leadership, and I think guys can become great leaders. And I think that's what we do. We continue to do it. The guys that naturally have it, you still got to enhance them and help them be better at what it is that they do, and understanding what a leader does. And all those things are a part of the program.
Front row right, Austin?
Luke, every level of your defense is taking a blow here with experience. Is there, from your perspective as a coach, is there one unit that is more difficult than the others to come in and contribute if you haven't had a lot of game reps, a lot of time on the field?
Obviously, the big guys is sometimes the most difficult, especially inside. To have guys that could walk in the door at 18, 19 years old to be physically ready to do some of that stuff is difficult. But I think that, I like what we got an opportunity to come in to give an opportunity to play. And there are some young guys, too, that maybe we don't even know. Draymond Jones, who got hurt last year, that, is really a year further along. So there's plenty of them, but that's the most difficult spot. It's kind of like an offensive lineman. Those guys are talented enough, they're smart enough, they understand what they're doing, but the true physicality of the game, taking that next step to me, is the most difficult thing.
Second row middle, Tony?
Do you foresee any changes with going to the press quarters or going away from press quarters next year? Or
No.
everything's going to be the same?
No, I mean, again, we do what we do, and we do it really well. And sometimes when people start to get worried, well, you lost Eli, we recruit really, really well. And that's not going to be an excuse for us to say, well, we got to change up because we don't have the same guys. No, we got the same expectation for, Damon Webb and Denzel Ward and Marshawn Lattimore, that they can do the same exact things that we ask them to do. And we're going to continue. We're not going to change. We're going to enhance.
Second row right, Tim?
Yeah, look, like you touched on this a while ago, though. You were a player back in 95, 96, when y'all lost all those players.
Did I say that? I meant 2005, 2006.
I know, but
That was a Freudian slip, huh?
Yeah.
There weren't that many good guys that left in 96.
Well,
Maybe
in
Vrabel.
In 95, I'm talking about, right on down the line, all the guys that left from that team, and a lot of people had questions about you guys.
Mm-hmm.
What clicked on that team, and what clicked on, I know you had one loss, but what clicked on that team, what clicked on that 2006 team as you look back on it, was it, and what didn't quite get there with those, with the 95 and 05 team?
It's leadership. It really is. And I think that's, that you can't, you can't, if you don't have it, you're in trouble, and you can't manufacture it sometimes, but to truly have that leadership and that selfless commitment to one another. I know I look back at the 95 team, and, Mike Vrabel wasn't a captain. I wasn't a captain. But it never was an issue. And sometimes those are those things. But when you truly bring everything together, the only way to be successful in this sport is that you got to have 11 guys working together, 22 guys working together. You have to have the 105 that truly believe in the bigger picture. And that's the most difficult thing sometimes when you got the kind of team we had last year, the returns. That's what I'm most proud of, is to see the commitment level that Joey Bosa had to the team, that the Von Bell had to the team, to asking them to do what we asked them to do. Darren Lee to play outside the box when he could make a million more plays if he's closer to the line of scrimmage and in the box. So that's the difficult thing, but I think, to me, the common denominator in all those things is the ability to have great leadership. Because we've always had great talent.
Yeah. You experienced what happened after the Michigan State game and stuff. I mean, what does that tell you about the culture? I'm talking about you guys knocking off Michigan and Notre Dame.
Team up
after
north.
that. What does it tell you about the culture? Yeah. But what does that tell you about the culture that's been developed here? What is it that Urban Meyer brings to the program that's different in your mind?
No, I mean, I don't know that it's a whole lot different. It's a commitment level to the big picture. And, where it was all difficult, the reality is, and I've said it all week going into the Team Up North game, is you'll know a lot more about that guy beside you, that guy next to you, that guy behind you. You'll know a lot more about each one of your coaches at the end of this game, at the end of this week. And I didn't just mean because of the outcome of the game, but how people react and respond in true adverse situations. That's when you really find out who you got and what people are made of. And I think that's the other thing that I'd say, if I'm going to remember a lot from 2000, about this last season, 2015, Yes, it's 12-1. Yes, there's a lot of great things, the selfless commitment, but the ability for guys to handle the adversity, to come back from that adversity. I know I got a much greater respect, and I'm not sure I knew how strong the leadership was in that locker room, how strong each and every one of these kids were, their true commitment level to that Block O, to putting everything else behind them. That's what's impressive to me.
And you and Greg, now y'all are working together, right? I mean,
Yep.
Chris is gone. What have you learned about Greg just in the last few days or last couple of weeks that, that maybe a different direction y'all might go? I mean, you're going to stick pretty much with the same plan, I guess, but what do you expect out of him, I guess?
You know what? Probably one of the more encouraging things is he really likes what we do. Because when a guy's coming from an outside in and has obviously been where he's been and done all the things that he's done, he has a way that he likes. And as we talked through a lot of this stuff the last 2 months or a month and a half, his mind, hey, how can we implement a lot more of some other things? And the reality is, I think him being here for 10 days in bowl practice, watching us play, watching all of our cut-ups, coming back and saying, I really like what it is that we do. So now I think that's, having that big picture, a guy that's obviously done it all, to be able to step back and say, okay, you know what? You're right. I'm going to become you guys, and I'm going to, find ways that we can enhance what we do and not have to change what it is that we do, because he sees the big picture. He's been a head coach. He knows what programs need. Programs don't need other chiefs a lot of time. We got a big chief. What we need are guys that are going to be able to work together, to stay together, do all the things that we ask our players to do. And I think that's what I've been as impressed with, as well as his ability to obviously study the game, but really learn even on his own what it is that we do, and really kind of, impressed with it too.
And final question, front row right, Ben.
You mentioned losing Joey. He's in the conversation to be the #1 overall pick in the draft. One, I guess, what would it mean to you to coach a guy like that? And two, what would it mean to the program to have a guy who's going to be at the top of all the draft?
I don't know if I'd say I really coached him, but it's a great testament to the entire program. I mean, not that you could say we walked in here and made Joey Bosa a top 5 pick. I mean, we helped, but going into the season, to be honest with you, he was a first-round draft pick. How high? I don't know. He had to go out there and perform. There was a lot of things he had to do a lot better from his sophomore year to his junior year. And to see those strides that he took with Coach Johnson, to see the things, the ability for him to allow us to move him around and never to worry, and truly got better. His ability to play as hard as he did, I think he warrants that. And that's what I talked to his father about in the summer. I said, if Joey wants to be a first-round pick, he's already there. So he can just kind of coast. If he really legitimately wants what I think he can be as the #1 player taken overall, at least a top 5 player, he's got a long way to go. And it starts with how he works and how he leads. And I think hopefully he took that to heart. And I think he impressed or moved his stock up big time. And I'd be surprised if he wasn't up there in the top 3.
Luke, thank you very much.
Thanks.